Everyone. My name is Wendy Perry, and I work on the Learning and Development team here at the Dementia Center. And we wanted to talk a little bit about a project that we've had running since 2011. And just to give you a little bit of context, of course, we've heard a lot today about various issues that have really brought our attention and our focus to dementia, to people living with dementia, and to the people who are caring for them. And of course, one of the things that we see is that, for the most part, we're really moving care out into the community. We're putting a lot more focus on how do we support people to continue to live their lives where they choose and with whom they choose. And a part of that is really looking at quality of life for carers as well. So if we take a look at a slice of the evidence here, what we see is that caregivers face a very long-term exposure to physical and psychological demands. And we know that this has a real negative impact for many of them on their well-being. And sometimes they feel that they have very little support. They may not know where to turn for information and advice. And when we could see some of the evidence building up around what carers need, a lot of what the center does, as Shirley mentioned earlier, is take about what we're hearing about today, taking this evidence and actually moving it into the world where people can use it. And I think that's really important, that we continue to pull that message through. And it should be something that goes out to everyone, because it's beneficial for everyone. So the project aims were really about how do we improve quality of life for the person who's living with dementia, and also for their carer. And also, how do we decrease people's feelings of isolation? Because it's one of the things that comes up again and again when you talk to carers, is that not only is it likely that the person they're supporting may become more isolated over time, but they do as well. And their world reduces in size very often. So it's something that becomes a very real issue for people. And we were looking at how can we increase levels of social contact for people and interaction, and how can we help increase carer confidence and help them to feel more empowered in their role. And of course, this is something that is, as Jeff was talking about, some of the priorities and the key outcomes that they're looking at across Scotland. Well, these are things that we're seeing across all of the UK as themes that are coming out that need to be addressed. And so our project was really a way to start to address some of those issues in one small way. Now, for the attendees to our workshops, and I'll get into how the workshops are structured in a second, but there were some basic benefits that we wanted for them. We really wanted to provide some practical solutions for people who are living with dementia. And, I think there's a lot of things that we think sometimes as professionals that carers want, that they need to know. But the reality was, a lot of times when we come to these workshops, we might start our slide presentation, but they ask us questions. They tell us what they need to know in the moment. And it's really important to address those issues, because all of us learn differently. And particularly for carers, they're more likely to take in information that is actually meaningful to them in that moment. And so it's really important to work through some of those things. So that was a real goal for attendees, is to have opportunities to talk about issues that they were struggling with, particularly around stress and distress, around managing symptoms, and about how do I help prevent crisis situations from occurring. And we developed the content of the course through consultation with carers, and that was done in the pilot in 2011. And we took a lot of the research and the information that was out there, and we said, okay, how can we make this as practical as it can be for carers who are working out of their homes, who are probably in that caring role more often than not 24 hours a day. How do we help them to make contacts, to network within their own communities, to get connected so that they understand what services are out there. And so a lot of the implementation of this project was really about how do we connect with other organizations that provide services for people. And through these connections, we began to build sort of networks, and we invited organizations with to come on the day to a workshop, so that when we talked to carers, they were able to meet up with local supports in their community, so that when we left, they weren't left with nothing. They now had local connections where they could go when they had questions, when they had concerns, to talk to people who had similar issues that they did. And more recently within the project, we've been working to build local knowledge and expertise by actually identifying some leaders within social care organizations and funding places for them on dementia courses here at the university, so that they can begin to build that expertise to take back with them to really help support those carers who come to the workshops. And within the workshops, we address a number of topics. And again, some of this is, though we come with our usual presentation, a lot of this is guided by what carers want to know about on the day. And they're not shy about asking. We get some really great questions that come out of that. But we do hit on things like identifying depression and delirium. And we've talked a lot today about how important it is to be able to identify that. We talk about things that can changes in communication and behavior. We talk about how do we develop strategies to maintain well-being, not just for the person that I'm caring for, but for myself as well. How do I become and how do I stay the person that I want to be in relationship with? And I think, it is about helping people to continue to honor their relationship with the person that they're supporting. And we've done this in a number of locations now, and we've tried the workshop setup. And the workshops themselves run for about 4 hours. People come together, they have lunch together, and we work through the issues. We've done them in both urban and rural settings. We've done some specifically with BAME outreaches. We've done projects throughout Scotland, in Northern Ireland, and currently we're working on one in Northeast England and Cumbria. And just to give you a little sense of who we've talked to, where we've been, we've had over 1,000 carers in Scotland who have come to workshops, and we've reached approximately 100 in Northern Ireland. And to date with our Northern England project, we're just over 200 carers that we've reached. And this is an ongoing project, and as long as we can secure funding for it, we will continue to bring this information out to students, because it is particularly important to get the information to the people who need it, so that what we can do is support people to continue to live well in their homes, but also to support and build that resilience in carers.
So again, we'll have questions at the end that everyone can wrap up, and we'll